and I know you can't disclose specific conversations because you represent Diddy, but can you give us a sense of the fear factor here on his part? Because they did attempt to shank him already. He knows he's a target.
Everybody's getting their laughs on, but we'll get the last laugh. It's a jail call. I don't know how you ain't got that, but that's crazy.
I think he's brother love. He love other men.
You will not believe how dangerous prison is for Diddy, and he really has to watch his back because things are getting messy for him in there.
Concerned, Sean Diddy Combs could be sexually assaulted, violently assaulted, because based on what was said in court, it feels like a thing.
If I could say one thing to him, in all honesty, don't drop the soap.
So Diddy's lawyer was talking on this podcast, and he said prison is no joke for Diddy. He's way different from other inmates and super risky for him because someone already tried to hurt him at the jail, but the guards got there before anything happened.
Diddy is going to spend definitely 2+ years in a federal prison. I just want to lay this out right now. He is a target, because they talked about this in court. They said somebody tried to shank him already, and that he is a big target. Are you concerned that Sean Diddy Combs could be sexually assaulted, violently assaulted? Is that a thing? Because based on what was said in court, it feels like a thing.
Yeah, it clearly is a thing. I mean, they're already, and he did not want to make a big deal of it. They already tried to shank him once at the MDC, and that was thwarted. And it happens in prison. I mean, you and I can tick off how many times we are aware of somebody getting seriously injured or killed in prison. And so they're going to have to keep him somewhere that they can keep an eye on.
Even though Garagos has not heard from Diddy since the sentence Diddy is about to face, the harsh reality prison will be a big shock for him since he's used to being in control. And some people say the fact that he likes men could make life even tougher for him inside.
And around Puffy, is there any truth to him being fruity?
I don't know what you mean by really do I see this man being fruity? Does a man like other men? I think he's brother love. He love other men.
Whack 100, who knows all the insider music gossip, even says that Diddy might have already been involved in some of those things, and that his jail call had something to do with it.
If Puffy has a boyfriend right now in jail, what do you think?
I believe Puffy may have engaged in some activity.
Right, they say the inmates, they fight each other over the right to make his bed in the morning.
Anybody doing that is participating in the activity. If that's true, like, I don't know. I don't think Puffy would have to say that. But what do you think about that phone call?
Which one?
With him and his son.
No, I didn't hear it.
What, you didn't, come on.
No, I didn't hear it. But which phone call?
Who does your research for you? Just you?
No, I got an assistant.
Yeah, you need to talk to him.
Okay.
The prison called him and his son when he's talking about, is Jay-Z getting back to you? Not responding. Then he said, okay. Everybody out there quiet all of a sudden, huh? He said, don't worry about it. He said, yo, such and such want to know what to do about his car note. He told him, yo, man, tell him to go host a show or something. Don't he see what I'm dealing with? He said, but everybody's getting their laughs on, but we'll get the last laugh. It's a jail call. I don't know how you ain't got that, but that's crazy.
This is the call from jail that he's talking about.
I do not entertain none of this nonsense and nothing over the phone. I'm gonna need you to get rid of all the leftover pizza boxes. The what? All the boxes left over from the pizza. All the boxes. Make sure you recycle the plastic like we talked about. Yeah. They reach out yet? Nah, Bob. He ghosting. I just want to doing. He's tweeting out because I'm in here. It's all good. You about to get out on bail. Everybody out there quiet as more. Yeah. Yeah, we gonna let them have their little fun, but I'm still gonna have the last laugh. about all these lawsuits though, and none of them getting shit. I ain't worth nothing. Ain't got shit in my name anyway. Don't even worry about it. But some money hungry.
Everyone was shocked when they found out Diddy had planned a public speech the Monday after his sentencing. Like he thought he would just walk out. Even Harvey Levin was like, wow, totally out of touch. And it made it seem like Diddy and his team were not ready for what was coming. And behind the scenes, things were messy with too many lawyers, too many plans, and no clear direction. Garagos tried to keep it together, but it was obvious this was not their best moment.
You can't disclose specific conversations because you represent Diddy, but can you give us a sense of the fear factor here on his part? Because they did attempt to shank him already. He knows he's a target. Now he knows that he faces upwards of 2 years, with credit and all, but is he freaked out?
Well, I haven't talked to him since the sentence. I know in talking to him for innumerable times that, I would not say he's operating from a place of fear, although he was during the trial, as all defendants are, fearful. Nobody goes into a trial. Anybody who tells you they're not afraid when they're in trial is just lying through their teeth. But I think post-trial, he's acquitted himself well and was preparing himself for this. Obviously, I've got a lot to say about the sentence, but in terms of the fear factor, I think it's going to set in. I think over the next week, you're going to see him make some moves. And when I say make some moves, there's things you can do to try to figure out where and what you should do in terms of housing.
So the judge gave him 50 months and 5-0. And where he served 13. And when you look at the 15% credit, it's going to be 2 years and change that he's going to actually have to serve. I got to ask you something about something that happened in court today. And we talked a lot about this on the live stream. And I couldn't believe my ears that Diddy booked a speech for Monday. When I heard that, I thought, when the prosecution said hubris, it's like, oh yeah, the judge is going to let me out. It's no big deal. It was shocking to me that he would do something like that. It just seemed as tone deaf as just about anything I've heard in a long, long time.
It's interesting. There's been a lot of things, and obviously because I'm involved, I don't want to second guess. I don't want to lay blame. I might do that next week. But a lot of times you find that people in these situations, and high-profile people, make decisions that aren't the best. And I think amongst them, I know that they tried to clean it up in courtroom afterwards. Who knows the real backstory here? All I know is that I think he is earnest, he being Sean, about wanting to better himself. I think the prosecution's kind of gambit, if you will, by asking her 135 months, basically just, between 11 and 12 years.
Mark Garagos, the lawyer Diddy hired, says he thinks Diddy wants to change, but people like Jaguar Wright, who have been calling out his past actions for years, are still sharing stories about how he hurt and used people. And now she is talking about a man who was treated badly by Diddy and says she has all the evidence to show it.
I see you.
Yeah, we see you.
Yeah. Court of Wayne County. Ask me why that means anything.
Please, if you don't mind.
Well, see, it has to do with this case. Back in 1998, it's so funny that you said rappers from back then, back in the late 90s, and they did this and they did that. It's funny. 2 different names, same case file. Nobody bothered to pay attention. This was filed on May 2nd, 1998. The defendant's name is Derek Lee Cordello Smith. Have you ever heard that name before?
No, please.
He's a victim of Sean Combs. This is an exhibit. Commitment of sentence to the Corrections Department for offense of criminal sexual conduct, 3rd degree, as conditioned primary offense. Wayne County Medical Examiner's autopsy report, which would be the autopsy report of Carl Bishop, an actual kit, a grape kit, and the materials contained were of the victim and the defendant. The incident report identifying Sean Combs as the assault suspect. Well, do you understand what that means?
Hey,
Do you understand what that means? What I'm holding right here in my hand in this device that I uploaded for protection of the records. See, while everybody was busy watching that sham of whatever that was supposed to be to make people think that guy actually was finally handled up on in some way, shape, or form, God was busy making sure that these very real findings came to me. Do you see what I'm telling you?
no, definitely.
There's a great kid. And the diddler is the assailant. His DNA found inside a man.
If this case ever goes public, Diddy could be in big trouble. But now everyone is wondering after his 50-month sentence if he might try to appeal. And this is what his lawyer had to say about it.
Bill seems off the. Are they even going to bother appealing this?
Oh, I think it's way too early to make that determination. I mean, you have to let it sit in. I will tell you, and by the way, 50 months, 50, it leaves you open to a number of possibilities if you're Sean Combs. And he will be consulting with consultants. He'll be consulting with professionals who will give him the advice on that, who understand exactly the permutations. But for an appeal, I'm going to go back to the point I made and try to make it less esoteric. By giving him 50 months, by the judge sentencing him to 50 months, the appeal, I think, if I'm handicapping it, if somebody comes to me and says, Mark, what do you think about an appeal? It's not Sean Combs, it's somebody else. The judge found sentencing guidelines that were over 70, and the judge went under by 20. And then I'm asked, I went to trial, I lost on a couple of counts, and the judge went under what probation suggested the guidelines are. I would tell you that an appeal is incredibly, it's always a heavy lift. It just becomes a Herculean lift because of the way the judge did it. And by the way, I've said this a couple of times. This is not a judge who this job was a upgrade. He took a massive pay cut. He was an accomplished litigator. He has a pedigree that most law students would envy. And he's a very, very brilliant man. And if you don't think he thought this through and understands, no judge wants to get reversed. And this is about as insulated a sentence as you can get from an appeal. Having said that, on the Mann Act itself, he left some wiggle room open for the constitutionality of the Mann Act as applied. That's a separate grounds for appeal than the sentence itself. As far as the sentence itself, I just think that's a lift. That's a bridge to.
Jericho said now, Diddy's main focus is just staying safe, not court moves, and high-profile inmates usually hire prison consultants, people who know the system and can keep them safe. He talks to these consultants almost every day, and they help with everything from learning the inmate rules to influencing where someone gets sent, and Diddy's team is already trying to get him a safer spot. Probably a low-security camp where inmates get some small freedoms but can be moved fast. If they mess up, it's not fancy, but way safer than big federal prisons.
Discussion that criminal defense lawyers have to have weekly, if not more often.
So you talk to these prison consultants all the time. What would they say to a high-profile person like this about avoiding other violent assaults?
There's all kinds of things that, I mean, the first and foremost is, where do you get designated? That I can't emphasize enough, that before you do anything in terms of preparing yourself, you have got to take your best shot at designation. Now, you have some control over that. And when I say you, I'm talking about kind of the royal we, meaning the court. Your lawyers can inform, can bring stuff to the attention of those who make the designation. You can send them material. You can try to point out things. But ultimately, at the end of the day, that's a decision that is made internally. They have their own protocol. They've got their own checklist, so to speak, and they're going to designate you at a spot. Now, you do have remedies if you get designated to some place you don't necessarily think you belong. I've had clients who have challenged that successfully, where they've been designated. They think it was because of a misnomer or a misclassification, and they've successfully done it. But sometimes be careful what you wish for. You get a little kind of what I call in LA parlance freeway therapy, where, okay, you want to go someplace that's not as onerous. We're going to send you someplace where you've got no relative anywhere near you because you challenged us. I don't want to say it's punitive, but it's punitive. And so that is the next kind of effort that's going to be made, is to determine and to handle where the designation is. And I'll bet you TMZ breaks that news as to where the designation is, probably within minutes of when they make the designation.
So let's say he is sent to a minimum security prison. Is he out of the woods when it comes to that kind of a...
If you're going, you and I talked about Ghislaine Maxwell, who went from the one place in Florida, which was a higher level, not a camp. And she was transferred after she did the interview with the couple-day interview. She was transferred to what they call a camp in Texas, which I'm familiar with. I've had other clients in. So a camp is generally one of the better places to be. And the reason for that is because a camp is basically, you get certain privileges, and if you step off of the line, so to speak, if you violate, if you do anything that is not according to Hoyle, they will immediately send you someplace a lot more onerous. So that's why I say, in the long-winded answer to your question, yes, you've got to get designated somebody. I know he wants to be New York adjacent. If I'm Sean, right now, I'm going to be angling for someplace like Lompoc Satellite Camp or something along those lines.
Joe Giudice from Real Housewives of New Jersey, who went to Fort Dix for 3 years for fraud and conspiracy, says life inside prison is really rough and not calm at all.
What he did was, and the argument was, that it's what's called acquitted conduct, meaning there was conduct that he was acquitted of. And the judge said he wasn't going to basically go into that kind of whole line of cases, but he was going to consider it as a factor. And he did consider it, obviously, as a factor. And he said he was going to send a message, basically deterrence effect. I always think of my father whenever a judge says, I want to send a message. My father used to say, it shows you how old I am, if you want to send a message, use Western.
Giudice's lawyer, James J. Leonard Jr., said even though it's prison, people consider it one of the safer and better federal places to serve time.
Have a really rough time following the straight and narrow while he's in prison?
Well, I've seen it personally. I think he has changed dramatically while in the jail, which is not a prison. I'll make that distinction. Pre-conviction, post-conviction. Pre-conviction jail, post-conviction prison. So he has changed dramatically. However, there's always that tendency. It's in the personality. I mean, you're 55 years old like Sean, you're 60 some odd like me, 70 some odd like you. It's very hard to change old habits. And the judge kind of said that in as much today in a different context, but it holds true everywhere. You're going to have to fight against that urge. You're going to have to fight against it. Sean said something that I thought in his statement was that it was humbling, and clearly it is humbling. And I will tell you, Harvey, and you've seen it with a lot of the people that you've followed over the years, there's various avenues that you can take. There's various decisions you make when you're in custody. And I always tout the Menendez brothers as making good decisions. There are others that I've had who've made incredibly bad decisions. I'm always hopeful that somebody makes the good ones.
Yeah.
Diddy really wanted Fort Dix because it could mean less time if he qualifies for RDAP. But the judge said he can't pick a specific prison, only one near New York. So Fort Dix is not guaranteed, and the Bureau of Prisons will decide if he goes there. If yes, he could have a calmer place with family visits and some perks. But if not, he might face a harder prison with less freedom and more isolation. And on top of that, some info got leaked about his jail calls and what he might have been involved in making things even messier. And even after he gets out, life won't be normal. He will be on supervised release for 5 years with every move watched. He has to check in with a probation officer, take drug tests, attend programs, mental health and domestic violence classes, and his officer can show up anytime at his home or anywhere he stays, and he has to live at an approved place. Basically, he will have zero privacy and everything he does will be controlled.
Raced music mogul Sean Diddy Combs is facing more scrutiny. Federal prosecutors have accused Combs of witness tampering from behind bars. He's in jail. The prosecution filed another motion on Friday urging the judge to not grant bail to the hip-hop star. They say he deployed a, quote, relentless effort to contact potential witnesses, including victims of his abuse, who could provide powerful testimony against him. And he's doing that, again, from behind bars. Now, for context, Combs was arrested, charged in September with trafficking, racketeering, and transportation to engage in prostitution.
And trying to get away with robbing him. You know, when Derek made his investment into Bad Boy, it wasn't just him. There were 9 other gentlemen that invested $150,000 each right away. Young black men saved up their money, stacked up their cash to invest into this animals company. And it's been appreciating all this time. Ask me how many of those investors, other than Derek, are still alive.
Jeez, how many? Sheesh.
Kind of like Uptown Records. Only one left. Derek.
Wow. And for him to apologize for it would mean that he would have to admit that it happened. And then that means there may be other Dereks out there. And I'm not saying at the level of that, but
Yeah. Like, say you're sorry.
it doesn't bode well.
Say you're sorry to somebody who was without a doubt your victim.
Diddy, who used to run bad boy records with jets, private islands, and wild parties, now has way stricter rules. He can't go near guns, ammo, or any weapons. He has to work at least 30 hours a week, though no one knows what kind of job he will do. And the hardest rule is he can't contact anyone involved in crime, even people who were once close to him. So even if he gets a softer prison like Fort Dix and maybe early release, his freedom will come with constant supervision, random searches, therapy, and a totally different life from what he's used to for someone who built an empire on control, power, and image. The next few